You want to make sure that you're commenting on each of your classmates' videos. I took a look at the assignment. Most of you had your comments in, and good job, really encouraging comments. That positive feedback just does a lot to develop everyone's comfort level. And it's important too that you're responding to your classmates' videos, because that really helps to develop a sense of community. I know it's a bit of a pain, but just realize if we were in the classroom, you would be watching everybody's presentation. So we've got to emulate that while we're still online. So if you haven't responded to each of your classmates' introductory videos, you want to make sure that you circle back and you get that done. You won't get a complete on the assignment unless your video is submitted properly and you responded to each of your classmates' videos. Also, too, with a couple of the essays that you were submitting, make sure that you're also including at least 5 terms from the reading in the modules of the terms that are in bold. So that's real important in your essays. You're responding to the prompts, but also to do that, you're illustrating that you've read the content in the modules and you have an understanding of what those terms actually mean. So you want to make sure that you have at least 5 terms in bold from the readings into your essays as well. So we got that first week under our belts. This week, we're going to focus on modules 3, 4, and 5. And let's go ahead and go right to the Canvas shell to take a look at those. All right, class, so now we're on the modules for this week. Again, we will be covering module 3 on speech apprehension, module 4 on audience analysis and topic selection, and then module 5, probably one of the most important modules to go through in terms of having an impact on improving your ability to speak in public, will be on speech delivery. But before we get into the modules, just real quick, I just want to point out the help link over here on Canvas. If you're ever struggling with some kind of technical issue on Canvas, I'm trying to figure out how to use the rich content editor, or maybe you want to figure out how can I record my video straight to Canvas, go right here to help. You can type in any question and they're going to give you a detailed answer and walk you through the step-by-step process of figuring out whatever it is that you're trying to fix. Also, you have access to Canvas reps, an actual live person that you can get step-by-step information from. So I always tell students, if you're struggling with something on Canvas, rather than sending me an email, because I'm kind of like you, I'm just trying to stay a step ahead. But when we went online, boy, I had to learn all kinds of things about dealing with Canvas and technology, just like all of you had to. So I always tell students, you want to get the best information and the most efficient information on how to fix stuff or do stuff on Canvas, just go right here to the help link. That's a much faster, more efficient way to get help on Canvas. All right, let's take a look at the modules. So this module right here that you're working on this week, the first of 3, dealing with how to control speech apprehension, or what we call nervous anxiety. And when it comes to public speaking, probably the one thing that everybody wants to learn how to do is, how can I get rid of the nervous anxiety? And I don't mean to be a downer, but that's not the goal, right? We're not trying to get to the point where we don't feel nervous before we give a speech, because you're not going to be able to do that. Well, you can if you take maybe 5 shots of Jose Gold or burn a big fatty right before you get up there. You might not feel so nervous, but your speech probably isn't going to be very effective. So what we're looking at here are what are effective and constructive ways to control nervous anxiety. And my number one answer to that probably is something you're not going to like, but the best way to control the nervous anxiety associated with public speaking is to practice. The more you practice your speech before you present, usually the more confident you're going to feel. The more confident that you feel, the better you're able to control that nervous anxiety. And as I said before, the goal isn't to get rid of it. The goal with dealing with nervous anxiety is to be the only one who knows you're nervous. So what you want to do is to be able to control the anxiety so it doesn't have a negative effect on the speech. And practicing is so important because when you really look at public speaking, it's a performance art, right? You are performing in front of an audience. So even though it's more conversational, you're being more direct in terms of relating to the audience, it's not that far from, being in a play or being a musician, performing a concert. Public speaking is a performance art, and the best way to fully prepare and feel confident and to control the nervous anxiety is to understand the importance of practicing your presentations before you actually deliver them. So a real important module right here. And you'll get lots of other tips and things you can do to really help control that nervous anxiety. But the number one thing you can do is to make sure that you learn how to practice your speech effectively. Kind of my prescription for dealing with nervous anxiety when it comes to public speaking is always practice your speeches out loud a minimum of 10 times before you actually do the presentation. And what helps even more, if at least a couple of times in those 10 different practice reps, try to practice your speech in front of someone else. Someone at home, friend, anybody you can get to listen to a speech that's going to help you then when you jump to speaking in front of an entire audience. So practice is really the key to controlling nervous anxiety, and as well as a lot of other tips that you'll learn here. The next module, Module 4, will focus on really two things, audience analysis and topic selection, and they kind of go hand in hand. The starting point of speech preparation is always audience analysis. Even before you start thinking about topics for presentations, you want to first think about your audience because you want to come up with topics that relate directly to the audience that you're speaking to. So audience analysis and the components that comprise audience analysis, you'll learn in this page right here on module number 4. And then we'll take that right into topic selection. And you've got a little brainstorming exercise here where you're going to write down a list of topics that you think would be effective to use this semester in the class. And anytime you're writing out topics, you always want to make sure you write them out as a statement. You don't want to write them in the form of a question. Always write your topics as statements. And then the last module you'll cover this week will be the module on speech delivery. Real important module because obviously that's going to give you kind of the do's and the don'ts when it comes to speaking in front of others. So you really want to make sure you go through the delivery techniques right here and try to emulate those in your upcoming presentations. And then you also make sure you spend some time here because I give you the best way to effectively and efficiently, so you're not wasting time when you're practicing the speech, and it's all based on the premise, repetition is the key to retention. The more you practice something, the more you're going to remember that information. And so one of the keys when practicing a speech is you want to try to retain as much information that you can, because when it comes to public speaking, the best way to engage an audience and to keep them into your presentation is to look at the audience while you're speaking. And it's harder to do that if you're dependent on notes. So that constant repetition, practicing your speech out loud so you hear yourself say the words, you get comfortable with the overall phrasing. You want to make sure that you learn how to do that effectively, because obviously the more effective you are in practicing your speech, the better you're going to be able to perform when you present that speech as well. So another action-packed week. We're going to talk about how to deal with nervous anxiety, how to analyze an audience, and then use that to come up with topics that will relate to that particular audience. And we're going to learn a lot about the performance of standing up in front of a group of people and being able to speak articulately and effectively when you're relating to an audience. So lots to work on. You have any questions on any of the materials, just send me an email. Let's keep up the good work. And this class is going to go fast, so you don't want to get behind. All right, you guys, have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.